This podcast collects the media from across the universe and subjects our heroes to a new danger every week. Will they survive? Will you? Please don't listen to this. Your life depends on it. Don't listen to this, your life depends on it. This is a show where each week one of us chooses an experience or piece of media and we all go through it together. We have pretty diverse tastes from comics, music, film, and this week anime. Today's topic is Gunbuster as chosen by Alex. Before we get into that, can everyone please introduce themselves on mic?
It's your boy. You
Please,
say who your boy is?
I am my boy, so I'm Alex.
From that meme video. I'm Cam.
Yep. Cam.
Rear.
Okay.
What do you
now
want?
they
I don't
all
have
know
a-
your full name. Now they're gonna find you. They're gonna dox you. I am Seb. I do art and stuff.
And I am your host this week, since nobody took my throne, Nick.
Okay.
And nobody cares. My throne of dirt for this podcast of garbage. This week we're going to do things slightly differently by actually having a plan. So we were going to get into what everyone's been doing since the last time we recorded. How were the weeks? Alex, you want to start since you're our special boy this show?
Since you're the weakest.
What?
You have the most weeks.
What the fuck have I done?
You down with that Sea of Thieves game?
Oh yeah, I've been playing Pirates. I bought the game for too much.
$60 is so much.
It's
Are they going
rough.
to update it or no? I think we talked about
Hopefully they keep patching it with content, because the game is entirely based around like cosmetic progression. Like that's what you get treasure and shit for. But like there aren't enough cosmetics. Like there's one page of boat customization.
Oof. Yeah, that's right.
And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't even get my own sail. Like what?
Yeah, can you customize the boat or no?
You
It's
can
like
do,
pants.
or you can't do. You can do sails, but the flags don't change.
What
So
about
like,
your pirate?
I'd imagine they're gonna do flags, but
Yeah.
How about your pirate?
You
yeah, you can do eye patch, peg leg, all that stuff.
You do two eye patches?
No, unfortunately.
That's hard
Oh,
mode.
that's
I
dumb.
know.
No blind beard.
Can you see the whole map? Like if you open up the map, is it the whole overworld?
It's a it's like a real map style, so it's not like a
Oh yeah, you hold
photorealistic
it,
map.
right?
You can hold it, but it's on a table.
Oh, okay.
So like when someone's looking at it, they're looking at it, so they move it around, and other people can look at you moving the map around.
Oh, weird.
It's
so
cool.
other people can be looking at it and you just move it.
Into
Well,
So
the
that they
ocean.
can't even
you don't have control over it when someone else is moving it.
Oh, that's dumb.
So if you're trying to find something and someone else is using it, you're like,
I thought the point of the game was to fuck people's shit up.
it is. And the
Or
fucking
fuck
people's
people's
shit up
ship.
part is really,
Okay.
really fun.
Okay.
Thank you for fixing this for advertisers, Cam.
No, it's boat themed, dude. It's a ship.
Maybe if everyone's still playing it by the time it goes on sale, I'll try it.
Yeah,
If it
the
goes on
PvP is a little jank, but it's the fun kind of jank.
Are you on
Okay.
a team? Like, are you
Um,
squatted up, or can
you-
anyone just hang out with you?
It's kind of like PUBG in the sense where they have a small boat that's 1 or 2 people,
And you
then
jump
they have
out of it.
yeah, and then they have a big boat that's
flies over the
that's
map
up to
and
4.
jump out.
I heard
Oh,
that
that's Fortnite.
each area can only have like 24 players in it, right?
Yeah, I don't know how big the servers are. I haven't looked that up really.
Wow,
but-
24. That's not
More like Pond of Thieves. Am I right?
Ponder Unknown's
Puddle of
Battleship.
Thieves.
No, no.
You can edit that out.
I can't edit that out. I'm not gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the part where you tell me to edit that out, but I'm not. But I'll take
Never
out the
say what
joke.
it is.
Just like bleep over it.
Yeah.
Redacted.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I've been playing Monster Hunter. I'm just finishing up mostly. I still have the tempered monsters left to
That's
fight.
old news.
It is old news. I mean,
But the listeners don't know that. The
It
listeners
came out-
don't know that Cam.
this
and
will
I
come
have
out in
had
February, right?
Yeah.
Last month. So probably. Oh wait, when did the game come out?
Game came out January 26th.
This will probably come out in January, so it'll be fine.
I mean, if we keep up this pace, I'll be able to edit it by February 1st. So I mean, we'll probably get it done a couple years ago.
This episode could be very time based because of all the stuff that happens in Gunbuster.
Whoa.
That's
Like
true.
while we're recording, 6,000 years pass, and then we can post it
Yeah.
in the new timeline.
Oh my god! Yeah. What if to keep with the theme of this episode, we record the other episodes but post them first, And then be like, yeah, Gunbuster just got back to us.
Yeah, we're all gonna go watch it, and then we post it like 12 years later. But yeah, I mostly started out the game. I played Sword and Shield and a little bit of bow, a little bit of switch axe, and hammer. And now I'm moving into because there's 14 weapons in the game, so now I'm moving into weapons more different than what I've been using. I used a lot of stuff that was just like a lot of DPS based, just attack until you run out of sharpness, and then keep sharpen and then keep attacking. But I just built the bow gun, the light bow gun, which you have to do ammo management. It's a lot more distant. Your proximity to the target changes how much damage you're doing.
So for our listeners with no critical thinking or comprehension skills, what do you do in Monster Hunter?
Well, it's kind of like the Minecraft of Dark Souls ripoffs.
No.
So you're in the wilderness instead of in the.
Oh, so Firewatch.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Firewatch ripoff.
Man, I hope nobody listens to us to learn things.
Yeah, well, you hunt monsters. It is switch between the. I mean, you're not supposed to really switch between the weapons, but that's what makes the game fun. I think. Yeah, I don't think you're going against anything by doing it, but the goal of the game, I don't think, is to use every weapon or anything like that. I don't know. I guess that's not a good description of the game.
It's it's all boss fights. You think of a game that you enjoy, and it's boss fights. There are some boss fights in there. It's a really specific big enemy that you go out and attack, and it has its own patterns, and it has its own weaknesses, and it has its own arena or whatever. And it's well, what if every animal in the world was a boss battle? And you are going to go out, and you're going to learn where it lives. You're going to learn how it fights. And you're going to try and take it down as best you can with whatever your weapons are. Whether that's a giant club that you hit it with.
Oh, I could go for a giant club right about now.
Oh, yeah, me too, actually. Don't bring it up.
Delicious.
Basically whether you're hitting it with just a big hammer or whether you're spacing it with a bow or something. The fun comes from just the individual encounters in it. And I'm just trying to give a basic rundown because I've run into a lot of people that have no idea what this is.
Yeah, there's no real... The story's bad, but the goal is all you're trying to do is just fight the next monster and make armor from that, make yourself stronger, make your weapon better, fight the next monster. That's all it really is. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like about the game is I don't have to do... you can do, gathering missions, and, there's one escort mission in the game that's mandatory, but, every other mission is, go hunt this monster. And I think in this game, they finally... I didn't play Generations, but in the previous one, for you, there were a lot more, go get 10 herbs, or, go fight all these little monsters. You had to do boring stuff like that. But in this game, it's go fight the next one, go fight the next one, go fight the next one. There are some monsters that I didn't even fight because I just moved on so quickly that, there was no need to fight them. Yeah. So, Seb, what have you been doing?
I've been working. I've been...
All right, Nick, what did
Wow, thanks.
Didn't you just buy the hit video game Sonic Forces?
Today.
February.
Yeah, today in February.
Quick, what's a day in February?
Current day, current year.
It's February 30th.
Oh shit, we really did mess up the timeline.
I bought Sonic Forces from GameStop today. Had an interesting encounter at GameStop with a bunch of awkward people. And today, I was only... Pretty much, we were hanging out and we were just playing Sonic Forces over here.
You got 13 levels in 2 hours?
Hold on.
I mean, it's not
Seb, you gotta tell your GameStop story.
Yeah.
I gotta hear
okay. It was really just comments that the other guys were making that I was like, okay.
A stack of
yeah,
GBA
just
games.
No, it's you go to GameStop and they try to tell you something and you're like, that's wrong. You shouldn't work at the GameStop.
Or even worse, when they're like, hey, and then it's just something that of course you already know and that everyone knows, and that there's no new information to be had there.
The guy at Toy Vault who told me that there was no pink ghost in Pac-Man, and I was like, it's literally Inky, Pinky, Blinky, and Clyde.
Yeah, but which one's the pink one?
I think it might have been
Pinky's more of a red.
Yeah. Okay. And I was like, okay, you're 40 years old, but Like,
Maybe
I
they
know
didn't have
about
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
Yeah, they patched him in.
Yeah, he came in one of the
Was
more
that guy
recent
thinking
updates.
about Pac-Man for the Atari, where the ghosts were all like an
yeah.
off brown?
Wait, is that real?
It's the
Yes, that
definitive
sucks.
edition.
Oh.
But so I went to GameStop, and I picked up a copy of Sonic Forces, and I put it on the counter. I was like, okay, this is pre-owned. None of this money, the $30 I was paying, none of this money is going to Sega, right? And they were like, oh no, it's not going to Sega. And then this awkward guy who's standing there, who's been trying to talk to the cashier, while the cashier was trying to talk to the customers.
That's always the best.
Yeah. And the cashier was just like holding up his hand, like, wait, please stop. And the guy was like, oh, sorry. But anyway, so the awkward guy was like, what do you have against Sega? And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, it's not Sega, it's Sonic Forces. I just don't want to give them my money. I don't want them to think that this is actually what I want. I just have to try it.
They have
I just
cameras
want it.
installed in
Yeah.
the GameStop, just making sure, like, oh, someone bought Sonic Forces. They may not have given us money for it, but now we know they want it.
Does
Yeah,
anybody else
here's a spy.
have a game that they didn't want to like Seb want to spend money on to show this?
We actually have Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and I was very particular about
Didn't
that.
we get that pre-owned?
We got it pre-owned for
Yeah.
$10, and I enjoyed the time we had with that game. But I also don't want them to think that, like, hey, if we just put half the game behind DLC, then they'll
Yeah,
just eat
that
that
was
shit
a
up
mess.
anyway.
Yeah, I also got Sonic 06 pre-owned from GameStop
Oof.
because
Did you ever finish that? Did
No.
You bother?
Can you finish that?
No.
Somebody else owned that game?
Somebody else owned it
someone
before me.
previously owned
I'm
it.
And that's
holding.
right.
I'm the second person to own that game.
Are you still holding on to that copy? Because I do feel like I kind of want to just like bumble my way through a glitch speedrun of that
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm at GameStop. The guy says that, and it gets into a conversation. The older guy, who's checking me out, he's like 40 or something like that, and he's like, "Yeah, I like Sonic. I like the older games and stuff like that." I'm like, "Oh yeah, they're good. Like, I kind of miss that format." And awkward guy says, "Yeah, I wish they would make stuff like that." I'm like, "Oh, like Sonic Mania?" And he's
Yeah,
like,
the one they just made.
yeah. And he's like, yeah, but I really wish they would make more stuff like Sonic Air Riders. And, like,
Whoa,
it took all of...
the old classics.
Yeah, it took all of my power not to laugh in his face and talk to him about how terrible those games actually are.
Was that Tyler?
Yeah, was he there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyler...
unironically
Putting
loves
him on
that game.
blast for not coming on the
I
podcast.
think
He'll be on.
I think Tyler knows they're bad, but he just likes them because he's good at them
Oh yeah.
compared to everybody else.
Because nobody else played
Anyway,
them.
yeah, that's what we did that's what I did at GameStop, and then I came back here and we played some Sonic Forces, and it's like not super bad, but it's like not good. It's just super mediocre, not good.
Doesn't really seem to have any good ideas.
Yeah, it doesn't have any new good ideas except for the character creator, which isn't very robust.
And Charmy's in it, right? Charmy the Bee.
I think they did that one.
Charmy,
No. It's
that
a new character. Alright, Nick, what have you been doing?
In between this podcast and the last one we recorded, I went to a tournament, my first one ever, for Dragon Ball Fighter Z. There was some other stuff at the tournament, but
oh yeah, that happened.
I didn't consider myself to be good enough to enter any of the other things, except for an extremely obscure game that nobody cares about called Windjammers. And I will tell you,
It's
listeners...
mainstream now.
Okay,
It's not.
hold on. It is so nobody cares about this game that when I showed up and said, yes, I am here for the Windjammers tournament, that was supposed to have a pot. Like, people were supposed to put money in, and if I had won this tournament, I would receive money. Now, I say if I had won this tournament, not just because I lost, but because there was no tournament to be had. Because when I showed up and said, I'm here for the Windjammers tournament, they said, you're the one. I was the only person who signed up for this tournament. And then,
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They said, when I went and talked to the woman running the registration booth, they said, yeah, the problem is that Windjammers is mostly people who play fighting games do that, and today is the day for Smash Brothers, so they should have put it on tomorrow instead of today.
Huh.
But, listeners, if you've never played Windjammers, I say it like, oh yeah, everyone knows what this is, of course. Windjammers is a top-down, like, sports fighting game, almost, where it's like a combination between Ultimate Frisbee and volleyball, where you're throwing a frisbee, trying to get it into a goal behind the other person. And if the frisbee lands on their side, then you get a point. And there's like specific zones, like 5-point and 3-point zones. It's a lot faster than that makes it sound, and you're looking at it from a top-down perspective. It's just really quick back and forth. It's an enjoyable game. But the next day when I was there for the rest of the tournament, they found the one other person who cared about Windjammers, and before they had everything else set up, because it was still a little hectic, they're like, all right, we don't have anything else to put on the stream that's going out to everyone who's watching this tournament, so why don't you guys just get out there and play some Windjammers? And they're like, okay, sure, yeah, just do it. And so we played like 5 or 6 matches of Windjammers. I got to be the very first thing that anyone who was watching that stream saw.
Did you win?
I won a couple of them, but we
But
were
out of
basically...
the 6, did you win?
No.
Oh.
No, I won maybe... I won 2 out of the 6 matches we played. I was not totally free, but I also cannot say like, oh yeah, I totally crushed it.
Well, you were the second best of the tournament.
Yeah, that's true.
Took home the silver,
I did get second place. Second place, and the prize of the guy who I played against telling me, hey, you're pretty good. You should come up to our locals that we have for this game. And I'm like, oh, great, where? And he says, Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's like, great, thanks.
We could.
But we're in
could take a
Connecticut,
trip.
so that's not super
We could
close.
take a trip to Boston sometime.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
like,
for
it's not...
Windjammers?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, like, I
Just show up. You guys are the only 4 that signed up for the locals.
I would really love to, a lot of the people I met at that tournament are people who are from the Massachusetts scenes, because you have to travel usually quite a ways to get to a tournament in New England for fighting games anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun there, had a good time. I won 1 match of Dragon Ball, and that's all I really needed. But to give an experience this week that was not about video games, since everyone had one of those, I will also say that I finished this week the book Strange Weather by Joe Hill, secret son of Stephen King. Secret in the sense that he just does not advertise it.
And Stephen King doesn't know about it.
But it was 4 short stories written very far apart from each other, but he eventually decided to expand them into slightly longer stories so that 4 of them fit into a novel length. It was really good, but it had the problem that a lot of short story stuff that I read has, where it advertises itself as horror, but what that really means is that a person dies and there's
Yeah, I don't
nothing really
really
scary
like that.
about
I mean,
that at
the
all.
horror genre, especially right now in movies, is really vague.
Yeah.
I think for this October, I watched 18 horror movies, but none of them were scary. You know what I mean? They're all suspenseful, maybe, but horror is such a diverse genre that it's not. It almost isn't a genre anymore.
It's
just
worse
it can be
in
anything.
books. It is so much worse.
There's a
in
lot
books.
of things that are worse than
Horror
books.
is
No, okay, hold on. I'm saying that problem is worse in books.
Oh, worse in books.
Yes. I'm not saying that there are a lot of things that are worse than books, but
We'll get into that on our next episode.
on our next
probably.
show where I force people to read a book.
Ooh.
Alex not sounded happy about that.
We did start
But
this.
when you go and look at the horror section of a bookstore or a used book place or anything, it's
That's the real horror.
It's like a book with a vampire in it. That's whatever, and whether it's romance or comedy or whatever. It's that's in the horror section. It's anything with a vague supernatural thing in it, regardless of what the tone of the story is lumped in the horror section. It's just weird, and it's hard to tell what's actually meant to be.
Yeah.
I don't know, suspenseful or scary or out there. And that's not a problem with Strange Weather. Strange Weather was very good, and I do recommend it if you like sort of more bite-sized stories about interesting little fantasy concepts. I think they did a really good job there. Seb is raising her hand. I'd want to let the audience know that. All right, so
I would like.
almost.
I think that means she wants to talk.
I would say Twilight is horror.
Okay, yeah. You know what, from this perspective,
It's pretty awful. It's scary. It's
Yeah,
I'm not
horror's
afraid of it.
scary.
Horror's short for horrible, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
horror,
Haggard
horrible.
the Horror, as we call it.
That's getting back into comics, and I know nobody wants to talk about that after last week's show. Okay, so almost 20 minutes in, are we ready to actually talk about the topic?
Gunbuster.
Alex, do you want to give us a little bit of history on Gunbuster, why you chose it, what it is?
I thought it was really good. I'm glad we did it. It's a short series like that.
Yeah, I was a big fan before Alex even picked it, so he would really just gave me an excuse to rewatch it, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Gunbuster is a 6-episode OVA series from 1988.
What does OVA mean?
I was going to ask that.
Original video animation. So it was originally released on video. It didn't air on
Oh,
television.
cool. Like on VHS
Yeah,
and stuff?
so
Nice.
people bought the tapes
Yeah.
so that they could see it. It was kind of a common format back in the 80s and up into the 90s.
Would you like read about it in a magazine?
Yeah, you'd either, from my understanding, you order the tapes.
Through
and
a catalog, right?
I'd imagine, or
I guess.
call in. I don't know. But,
Well, I mean, how would you know what it's about?
You had to write down what episode of Gunbuster you wanted, and
People were just like
put it in
mailing
the
out
postbox.
names of shows
Well,
that they didn't even know existed.
with
Titty sword.
with OVA,
That's real.
anime boobs.
There were like commercials on for them.
Really?
Maybe like in
with-
Japan.
Yeah, with OVAs, they usually release them over a while because they took their time to make them, and then they whoever bought the tapes would get them. So like Legend of the Galactic Heroes is a really big popular OVA series, and that took like 10 years to come out. And it was an OVA, so people bought the tapes individually.
Wow. And the tapes were expensive, right? Weren't they like $50 per tape or something?
I'd imagine
like that?
if they need to make their money back.
Once
Yeah,
I get around to
packaging
watching
is-
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, it will be the year that story is set.
Well, this one was set in 2015 at the beginning,
That's true.
Very.
and it's
culture
2015 right now. So we're recording this.
Yeah.
Did
exactly.
you want to get into the what the first couple episodes are a takeoff of?
Well,
we'll
this is an Anno thing, right?
Yes, this is the first thing that Hideaki Anno directed.
Hideaki Anno, famous for his work in Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Even Geru.
Never heard of it.
The one,
Yeah, so-
the one that they always talk about with the girl with the blue hair and the girl with the red hair. And if you've seen a weird-looking shrimpy kid with a white dress shirt, it's probably from Evangelion or Dexter's Lab.
The real masterpiece. Yeah, so this is big work by a big director. One of Gainax's more popular shows. The beginning of the show is a parody of the tennis anime series Aim for the Ace.
I did not know that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe it was a manga as well, but it's I have not seen it, so I'm not sure.
the name of the show in Japanese is Aim for the Top.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna bring
Gunbuster.
Top
that
in
up.
the water.
Yeah.
Gunbuster.
cool.
Also, on the fun fact on the Wikipedia page, it says it was also inspired by Top Gun, which I totally see.
Oh,
I
it is
absolutely
very
believe
Top
that.
Gun. Top Gunbuster.
Yeah. Which
Aim
makes
for
a
the Top
lot
Gunbuster.
of
Especially when
sense.
Goose shows up. That was one of the crazier parts.
Oh, but her body could cash all those checks.
All right, so what's this show about? Should we do a synopsis?
Yeah. Do you wanna
Yeah,
keep going just for a little bit? Please do not read it off the Wikipedia page.
Oh, I'm
but
going
They're gonna
word
sue
for
us, dude.
fucking
We're gonna
word.
get sued.
They don't have the money to do it. Nobody donated to them.
I gave them some money to sue us.
Who owns the articles on Wikipedia? Everyone owns
I think
edits
I
them.
have.
You own stock in the company since you donated.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't donate to them.
Wow. I haven't let them guilt me yet, but someday they'll get to me.
Yeah, when they show the founder's sad face again, I'm gonna cave. So, what was the series Gunbuster about?
So the show is kind of sets itself up as a pretty typical mecha thing. They need to train pilots to stop an alien invasion or to stop aliens of some kind. So they do the smart thing and train children to operate mecha.
Right.
The first episode covers Noriko and her senpai being selected to train, and they do their nice training montages and all that nonsense. And then it kind of just builds on itself from then on, and kind of transitions into a more serious, more original space type thing.
Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
to nail down the theme of Gunbuster because it escalates so quickly. Like, you don't spend more than one episode doing any one thing. I feel
Almost don't need to watch the first episode. I'd say.
I feel
No,
like
I feel
that's-
like you do
because it grounds it. It like
Yeah, it
to-
grounds
Yeah,
the
but you
characters.
could
okay.
understand.
Well, I think something that a lot of this, specifically this breed of Gainax show does is it grounds the experience just so that you can say, "Wow, we've come so far from there."
Yeah. that
Like
makes
if you
sense.
watch like Gurren Lagann and you're like, "Oh, they came from a literal hole in the ground and and now they're throwing universes at each other."
Spoilers for the end of Tengetoppa Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Nobody, that doesn't tell you
There's a
anything.
flash forward in episode 1 that shows
Yeah.
his face.
Spoilers for episode 1.
But no, I think that's kind of important for like when you look at it as a whole, and you're like, oh wow, that really covered a lot in 90 minutes or whatever.
The episodes are only like 25 minutes,
Yeah.
like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty short, which is
But, like,
good.
Yeah.
It definitely maintains its quality. Like, I didn't feel like it was dragging at any point.
No.
No, not even once.
I was kind of weirded out, like, at first, about the end episode being in a different aspect ratio and black and white. Like, I understood the black and white better. I think the aspect ratio is more like a theatrical kind of thing for them to do. I don't know, was the last episode released in theaters?
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't
have
think so.
a limited run.
You want to do like a slight bit of research on that?
What
Yeah.
about the part where
pacing of the
Ano
podcast?
uses his hand camera and shakes it over some of the concept art during that battle scene? That was not. Now that I'm learning
that
this
was what weirded me out the most. Like, I don't know if they were trying to save money or if it was just like
Now I know
go faster forward.
I know that the choice to make it black and white was a choice and not a limitation.
Yeah.
I don't have a source for that, so sorry guys.
No,
but
but
that is what I've heard. Apparently,
Yeah.
it was more expensive to make it black and white than it was to
Oh my
make it in
God.
color.
Probably.
But I really admire that.
Leave
so.
the guy
Well, it
next to
comes
be
back
smart
towards
with
the
money.
end.
Yeah.
When they're actually near the black hole at the end, or towards the center of the universe, Amano, who's the senpai, Noriko's senpai he was talking about, Amano is like, it's so pretty and white out here, so
Yeah,
I'm
I thought
assuming-
that was funny.
Yeah.
I think that was almost a reference to the fact that
The
it was
fact
in
that it's
black
in
and
black
white.
and
I
white.
saw it as a joke.
I don't feel like it was a joke. I feel like it was, like, the middle of space near a black hole looks really weird. Probably.
Yeah, maybe you'd expect it to be dark, like
Yeah,
the rest
like
of
there's
space.
there's no
Yeah.
light here.
No, but there's a lot of light. It's getting sucked in the black hole.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
guess
well,
right.
they do a lot of really fun stuff. I dove into the show the first time when I was on a big mecha kick. I'm like, all right, I just want anything and everything with giant robots in it because it's something that I always thought was cool as a kid, and I had no way to like I didn't know what Gundam was. I didn't know what I didn't care about all this stuff, even though I acknowledged that I thought it was cool. I didn't know how to get any of it. And it's like, oh, I have a computer. I can look up these shows. I can buy these shows. I can find places to watch them. And I just want to everything with a weird robot design and like a scrappy main protagonist. And it takes place in space. It takes place underwater. It takes place on the ground. It takes place in a regular town. Who cares? I just want to watch it. And this totally caught me off guard because I knew that Ano directed it. I had seen Evangelion beforehand. I knew this was like more of a hot-blooded thing, but I didn't know anything else about it. And so it starts off and it's like, oh, hey, we're training this protagonist, and she's going to get in the robot. She's bad at first, but she gets better. And, she has to pilot the robot together with the upperclassman who knows so much more than her and is more experienced and doesn't want her to get in danger. And the weird injured guy knew her dad that is training her this whole time. Coach! And like,
No, it's Kochi.
Sort of.
Kochi!
It sort of eases you in. It's like, it's a very, like you say, inspired by Top Gun, and I absolutely see that. The whole first episode's like a training montage.
Yeah.
And that's...
It literally has one.
Yeah, it has one. It has a great one. It's
And
like,
it has that really stereotypical 80s, like, training montage music.
Yeah, exactly. It's like... It's really setting you up as like, this is a sports movie with giant robots, and then you get to episode like 2 or 3. It's like, actually this is a war movie with giant robots, not a training movie with not a sports movie with giant robots.
I really like the direction it went. I feel like I wouldn't have liked it as much if they stayed on the ground and it was like a high school thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Because that's what it looked like at first. Like, it looked like a lot of it was going to be her overcoming her issues in school. And then she actually like went into space at the end of the first episode.
She's gone by the end of the first episode. And then but like, she's still a kid, and they do a good job of like working with that. Like, she still does shitty kid things. Like, in episode 3, she's still like, oh no, the other girls told me I have to go out into the dark hallway of the ship, and I have to go. I talked to a boy, and I blushed.
That was a weird cursed hallway of that ship that they were supposed to do.
Yeah, well,
The ghost hallway.
I
The
feel like
space ghost.
they depicted what a spaceship might be like really well. Like
what kind of problems would you have on a spaceship that you wouldn't have if you lived on Earth your whole life?
yeah, or just the silence or the ambiance, the background noise, like
The Coke
the
machine.
humming of the machines,
The vending machine.
the tossing and turning of the ship, and I really liked those silent moments where they showed that kind of thing.
Yeah, it really was a slow burn for a show that was 6 episodes and takes you so far.
Yeah.
It really gives it a ton of time to breathe with like a lot of really still shots on the spaceships and stuff like that.
And they're all beautiful shots. Like the art, the entire time, the animation in the art is like really good. I didn't see one weird frame while I was watching that show.
That probably has to do with its short runtime and spaced out releases. Like they weren't
Yeah.
going for like, okay, every time we put out a tape we want 40 minutes of footage. There was no like there's no real padding to speak of.
Yeah.
That you don't need anything
I mean,
extra.
aside
oh my
from
God,
that,
Tyler's
like
fucking calling me right now.
Hang up.
Phone him in.
Answer it.
I'm not putting him on the
We've got
podcast.
we've got a caller coming from the podcast right now.
Finally, we're taking calls.
I'm going to send him a message.
Alright, thanks for
maybe he wants to cry.
He probably does, but I don't want him to walk in the middle of recording.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean about the weird frame thing. Like the only thing was the last episode and where they're having the battle and it's just like shots of. I don't think it was concept art. I
think it was finished art.
I'd have to
of
look
the
up that
show.
clip. I do not remember that.
It wasn't. Yeah, and it
It's
wasn't
insane.
storyboards either. Unless I mean I know they can go insanely detailed on storyboards for anime sometimes.
Yeah.
But that did catch me off guard more than the aspect
it's
ratio.
an Anna specialty.
It
to
was
make
definitely
devolve
an artistic
into
choice, but it
nonsense.
was literally like
And
panning over art
and
of the thing.
and I couldn't really tell what was going on either.
The end of Eva
And-
classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like
I thought their budget
Maybe
got
that was-
slashed because of the way it looks, but
Yeah.
because it was OVA, I guess that's not possible. But like they pan over images like this that are very.
yeah.
I feel like maybe
bare
it's
bone
supposed to
art of
confuse
the-
you and it's supposed to be jarring
Okay,
because
hold
that's
on.
what that war.
We may have a guess. Apparently he was literally outside, so I'm
Oh.
not just gonna leave him out there. I'm gonna let him in.
After thousands of years of light speed travel and a few sentences of podcast shit talking, the gang receives word that Tyler has made it back to Earth. Nick briefly halts the recording to bring their silent, travel-weary hero inside to sit and listen in on the recording. A silent protector. A watchful guardian. A guy we know who plays trading card games. We now return to the podcast, already in progress.
Alright, coming back from the break. So did we want to get into the spoilers for the end stuff?
Oh.
Or do you want to...
I mean, we've already kind of spoiled it.
We only talked about it a little bit. We made some
Yeah.
jokes about it at the beginning, but if you didn't know, then there's no reason to...
I wanted to talk about the characters. Like,
Oh, yeah,
what did
I
everyone
definitely-
think about some of the characters? How they behaved? Like, or how one is named Young Freud.
Now we need to talk about
I love that. It's so on the nose. Like,
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Nier Automata also gets into that where it's just like, what if we just named our characters after philosophers? But at least that one has the excuse of it's so far in the future that nobody knows what that means anymore.
Oh yes,
It's
giant construction man, year March.
It literally already happened.
Yeah, but
It's 2015.
right now we are too far in the future. Nobody knows who Marx and Engels are.
Who's Young Freud? Who's Freud Young?
Young
I don't
Freud
know.
is the guy with the triangle hair.
Okay.
The boy that Noriko's like, oh boy, I sure hope I get to
No, that's not.
drink his coffee. No,
Young
what's his
Freud
name?
is the Russian pilot.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I
the
got-
one with the
Sorry, they were
the
both
red
introduced
hair
in the
who's
same
kinda
episode.
cute, and she has a rivalry with Amano.
That
So
lasts all of like 20
Yeah,
minutes.
like their whole thing was like I thought they knew each other before, or they had like some like connection already.
I think they knew about the Russian pilot. And
Yeah, they
she
knew about each
them.
other.
Guys,
They
not
just-
Russian. She's from the Soviet Union.
Oh fuck.
Oh,
is
okay,
she? Come
she's
on, oh my
USSR on.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I thought they knew each other already, and then they had that fight, and she was like, "All right, sorry about that. That's cool. You guys are cool." And then she starts talking about like her boobs and shit to them, and I was like, "That's like I thought that was a nice touch because she acted like a real person."
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a good
Even if she
character.
doesn't have a real person's name, she can still act like a real
But
person.
it wasn't really on the nose because does she have any? Does her name have any significance to her personality?
Not really.
Do you
No,
feel?
no.
Yeah, so I don't
No, I
think it's
guess you're
on the
right.
nose.
I think it was
It's
kind of like just like a joke.
Yeah,
or
I think it's just a translation joke. I don't think
Japanese people not knowing
I actually,
any better.
Yeah, I don't think it's a translation joke because.
Oh
like,
yeah, because her name would still be Young.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
they
sense.
still say
They
it
don't
that
just
way.
change
What
all
is
the
Young
don't even
Freud
know.
in Japanese?
It's actually fried potato.
Moreno.
Moreno. Callback.
But
One thing I didn't like really that much is the relationship between the blue-haired girl and the coach. I
I thought that was weird, but they didn't really do anything about it. They just kind of teased her about it until the very end of the show, and then she admitted she didn't say anything to him before. So it was
that made sense.
Yeah, so it's kind of like they didn't act on it until she wasn't really her.
But then she comes back from space and he's still alive, and she's like, "Oh, I love you," and he says nothing to her, smiles at her, and then she cries a bunch like something bad happened. So I assume.
Well, we don't know what happened after that because Noriko left and it followed her.
Yeah, I saw it as them saying either he didn't feel the same way or her realizing that he was going to die extremely soon since he was in the
Well, she already
hospital.
knew that. She thought he was going to be dead already.
Yeah.
Right, but he lived 6 months, but I guess now he's living in the hospital.
Yeah. And then he died like later that year or the next year too.
So, but him not saying anything to her, what does that mean to you guys?
I think it's like he's
too cool to say anything.
almost exactly where he's like he doesn't want to get involved to the point of like he's one of those like characters that's such a like cliche of like, oh, you don't want to get involved with me, you don't understand, I'm not worth it, that kind of thing.
I mean, but then they got married because her last name changes to Ota later on. But
he's just very bad at expressing his own feelings.
No, I think he was just letting her. I feel like at that point he was just letting her like get out her emotions because no matter what he said, she was gonna start crying. But I wouldn't read that deep into that. I feel like that's just like a character quirk, and they didn't feel like any more could be said in that scene.
Yeah, I guess so. I kind of wish they had gone into that a little more. Is what I'm saying.
I think that
like
she
left
in
it
general
too.
could stand to receive like a little bit more development. Like,
yeah, I don't think that many of the characters are that well fleshed out, but I mean it makes sense because of the runtime of the series.
And it all focuses like
a lot of them are kind of like a lot of them are interesting personalities, but like there is not much there as far as character building. But like I think that's fine. Like I really like Noriko because she's because of her personality.
Yeah, Noriko is the most fleshed out.
Attitude.
Definitely. I mean, she's the main character. I felt like if Smith had come back or Smith hadn't died, I would be like, what the fuck's your problem? You just met this guy. But the thing was, the way he died was, like, so sudden, and it was her first time in war in space, and she was supposed to protect him, and he's just gone.
And you had just met him, too.
Yeah.
There was, like, expectation. Like, I think a lot about this show is, like, expectations. Like, that's a major theme in it, because, like, Noriko is this daughter of this space captain who, like, I guess he was pretty important in the
he was the
Space
commander of a
Federation.
ship.
he was the commander of a ship that basically finds out what the problem is at the very beginning, like way before the show starts.
Right.
And
So
sends
she's
information back
supposed to be.
protagonists.
She basically gets nepotism into this position that she gets in because she's not good in school. But the guy says, "Oh, I see potential in you," but I don't think he actually saw any potential in her. It's just like
I think maybe it was that she was so strong. Like any other person might say, "My dad died in space. I'm afraid to go out there." But instead, she chose to go into the school to go to space.
that makes sense.
Or
Yeah.
imagine if it was like a revenge scenario, like my dad died in space, so I vow to
I have to
all
kill space.
all space must be eliminated.
So then there's
All
what's
space
the
was
blue-haired
dead.
girl's name? Amano.
Yeah, Amano.
So then she's the top of the class. So she looks down on Noriko because she's supposed to be as good as her.
I mean,
she's just getting given this position.
At first, she like encourages her, but I don't think she really looks down on her until she feels like the coach is like favoring her. She at first like encourages her in school, but then once they're like, "Oh yeah, we're sending the freshmen to space with you," she's like, "Wait, no, that makes no sense at all."
Yeah, I think there's a sense of.
Yeah, and then she starts being like, "Why is she coming?"
I think there's just a bunch of tension between everyone and Noriko because she gets given this thing, and like it's not like she's one of the space pilots. She's like, she's supposed to pilot the Gunbuster, right? But it's not ready yet. The titular Gunbuster.
Which, by the way, I love the design of the Gunbuster. I really think
It's a little generic.
With, like the
right?
starfish head and like it's got big like oh my god, it's like it's wearing giant soda cans.
It's got
on
a
its
giant
hands
like
and feet.
purple Sauron eye.
Yeah, it's got a mono eye. It's got the I don't know. For some reason, it always stood out to me like the gray and yellow.
I thought it was purple.
It's purple and yellow.
Is it purple?
Yeah.
Why
It's
am I
like a
thinking of it
gray
as gray
purple.
and yellow?
It's a gray purple.
Well, when it's in space, it's purple because of the lighting.
Things are purple in space. You know, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I guess I've never been to space. I wouldn't know.
It's pretty purple.
I thought Amano seemed like she had a really weird change in character.
I think it's because of her secret relationship with the coach.
Yeah, the
like,
secret
I would like
non-relationship.
to let the listeners know that Cam made air quotes there.
I said
no.
the air quotes.
Yeah.
Secret.
The inflection was there.
Yeah.
Air
But yeah.
quote, secret, air quote,
And air quote.
and air quote. Unair quote.
So Alex, why did you pick this series for what you wanted to show us? Out of curiosity.
Well, here's a dumb answer. Cause I wanted to rewatch it.
You just need
I
an
mean,
excuse.
Nick's
Yes.
satisfied with that answer, I think.
I am.
Because he literally said he wanted an excuse to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Um,
Mostly because it was. It's short. It's like standalone. And it's fun. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people can find something to enjoy in this show.
I felt
Absolutely.
like
even if you're just like a total sicko that wants to see some boobs,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is
your show.
We
This
got
is a show for you.
Even during the climactic emotional
Yeah.
scene,
Couldn't
there's
believe that.
some titty in it.
Absolutely love
You
it.
get that money's worth.
the ending I
Take
felt like
40
was
bucks
really
and
satisfying too.
Oh, can we
Yeah.
get into the ending?
Yeah.
I really want to do that.
Let's
so
talk again.
I'm gonna okay,
Spoilers.
spoilers. Warning.
Yeah, if you made it this far.
Don't
Yeah,
listen
you
to
made it
this.
this far where we spoiled almost everything that happens
Yeah.
except for this.
Yeah,
So-
skip ahead to the end of the podcast where it's over.
When what's her name?
Gunbuster.
Tomiko, her niece.
Kimiko?
Oh,
Kimiko.
yeah.
Her not real niece, her
Kimiko.
best friend's daughter.
Kimiko
Yes.
is,
Right.
I think, Yama.
No,
Doesn't
it
matter.
starts with a T. Anyway, when her best friend's daughter like sends her the
Oh, the message.
message
Yeah, really cool.
that's like, make sure you hurry home. I was like, oh no, Noriko's gonna die out here because there was this scene, the flashback with her dad.
Yep, the death flags.
Yeah, watching like the little snapshot of Noriko saying, "Make sure you come home for my 8th birthday,"
Yeah.
and then he gets blown up by aliens. I was like, "Oh no, Noriko's gonna die out here," and I kept expecting it, and I wasn't gonna be unhappy if they died as long as they saved humanity. But they survived. They survived, and they came back 12,000 years later
Yeah.
because of the space-time like
Yeah.
weird stuff.
What I really like about how they did that, they kind of built up to it. Like the first mission they do in space, it's like, oh, it's been like a week or something like that. And then as the episodes go on, it just the time dilation just gets more and more.
They're traveling farther and farther away
Yeah.
from Earth, like in closer to the center of the galaxy. They have no idea where they're going to end up once they're
Yeah.
done traveling at light speed.
And I really liked the part where they go back to Earth after what, like 10 years, or and it's less than that, maybe like 5 years. I don't know.
No, it's like 15 years.
Oh right.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Because,
and like her friend's all grown up and has a kid, and then they graduate high school.
That was a
the
funny
whole thing
scene.
Alone.
was
Just the
interesting.
2 chairs in the auditorium.
There's a really fun comment that Noriko makes. He's like, "Wow, I graduated high school at 17," and then the senpai girl's like,
Actually, you're 40.
"Actually, you're 25 now."
Yeah, I think the show has a lot of good humor. When
Yeah.
it is super subtle most of the time. Which
The
is
facial
good.
expressions are pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the animation in the show is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Like the effect they have for when they ride the cool rocket things and
Oh,
they're traveling at light speed, and they
Yeah, they
just
don't
basically like overlay like a sketch almost of the character, and
Yeah.
they kind of like move
Shit,
between it really fast. It seems like it'd be an easy effect, but it's done so well.
Yeah. Can I just
really
say
nice.
the very ending when the Earth? So they think the Earth is destroyed. Like
Yeah, because
people,
they can't see
Yeah.
anything when they
Yeah,
get back.
because of course, at that point, like 12,000 years from now, I expect humanity to have
Oh,
this
yeah.
Earth.
Yeah, if I
Certainly.
get back up to 12,000 years, it'd be like, if something's still here, if it's a smoldering rock, great. Nice. Glad we made it that long.
Yeah. And then the welcome back just slowly shows up. I was like, that's beautiful. That was beautiful.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
this moment that, like, because you could expect anything. I'm like, oh, they're going to give us a real gut punch here. Like, it slowly gets heavier and heavier as time goes on. Like, every time Noriko comes back from a space mission, more of her friends are no longer there, or they're aging, or time is, like, the world has moved on without her. And there's a comment I think they make before they go on the final mission. They're like, I wonder if anyone's even going to remember us or something like that. And then to get back and be like, okay, not only is the Earth saved, but they had a party waiting for you
They
when
shut
you
off
got.
every light on
Yeah,
the
they shut off
planet.
everyone. It's the equivalent of having a surprise party ready. Of going like, oh, nobody's home, and then it turns out that everyone on the planet Earth was actually waiting. For
I
you.
also
Yeah.
saw it as kind of like a mean joke almost to them, like, oh, look, nobody's home, and then, oh, it's just kidding, we're all alive still.
No, I don't feel like they I don't think they.
No, yeah.
I don't think that was
scripted.
intended.
It's
obviously.
just meant to play with the viewers' expectations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
and-
definitely got me. I know.
Yeah.
I
I think
got
it's
you.
crazy, and it's like 12,000 years. I mean, they could certainly try to calculate. They must have had to do a lot of math to calculate how long it would take
I
them
thought
to
it
get
was
back.
kind of weird that, I guess it makes sense in that they would know they're coming back, like when they're coming back,
Yeah.
but they didn't know they weren't going to be back for 12,000 years.
No, they would have. They would have.
did?
Yeah, they
I mean,
would have calculated
if
that.
they could have done the calculations to get them there, I'd imagine they could do the return trip.
and they already
Also,
knew like
if they knew by that point that they weren't exterminated, then they could say like, "Oh, well, we know they're coming back, or we can
Or
plan
they-
for them
I
coming
mean,
back."
yeah, I mean, they might not know they actually survived.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have known like, oh, it's only been like 2 days for them or something
Yeah.
like that, and they're floating around in their broken space gunbuster. But like, for them to even remember that long, I mean, I guess they would have been like huge heroes for saving humanity.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wanna shout out somebody who's
If
saved
George
the entire
Washington's
human
on
race.
his way back,
Yeah.
we're going to let him know that.
You think it's him? You
Yeah,
think
he's
gonna
coming
do-
back. Probably.
I think
He's good, right? He's on like the.
Didn't he like kill his own soldiers?
Dollar.
Am I thinking of a different president?
Didn't. Yeah.
Most of them.
I can't think of another show with an ending like Gunbuster. It really,
No.
it like affected me, and it just felt like it encapsulated the show really well. Like you've been there for Norco's entire journey. Like, and I know that's it's so easy to say that about like any like dime a dozen RPG where it's like, oh, you saw them when they were picking the feathers off of chickens at the beginning and when they killed God at the end. It's
Like in Assassin's Creed 2 where you literally see when you're born. And you're like, oh.
Oh, it's such a hack way to start a story. It's like, where should the story start? At the beginning, when the character is conceived.
Shout outs to Fallout 3. Ooh.
Getting roasted.
Well, Fallout 3, I feel like it's like, this is life, this is all you know in the vault, and then you go outside the
Then
vault.
they force you to die at the end because the game sucks at telling you why to do anything.
Another thing I really liked about the show is it has some of the coolest robot attacks ever. In the final
Absolutely.
battle,
Oh my god.
the moves, the lightning kick kind of sucks. Sorry,
Yeah, it's
lightning
kinda
kick's bad.
Ah, the
Compared to
lightning kick
when she
sucks.
shoots 20 billion lasers
Oh,
at
and then they split into other
Oh
lasers.
my god, it was like the
Yeah.
coolest effect, coolest like imagery
Oh yeah.
in that show, and like that they bring back the Gunbuster move where it has the pieces come
like
out
the
of its
lightning front
forearm,
thing,
yeah, and it like
Oh,
punches into things, and
They
they
put 'em
bring
on the
that
feet.
back. Oh,
Oh.
makes it so
Yeah,
cool.
that's something that a lot of different mecha anime focus more on. Like Gunbuster, at its heart, is like sort of a coming of age space opera. And there are a lot of other shows that will go more into, well, this is what the weapons of this mech does.
Mhm.
But even Gunbuster, like, that does not make that the main focus of the show, still kicks ass
Yeah,
with
they're like,
how,
oh, this thing's good because it has 1,000,000 lasers. It has the 1,000,000 laser move.
And it
Like, it's
explains to
1,000,000
you
lasers.
how the million lasers
Yeah.
work.
It explains to you how the 1,000,000 lasers work. It explains to you why it's good against this specific enemy that it's going up against.
I also like that the Gunbuster is never weak. It never loses a battle. When they bring it out,
Yeah.
they have to bring it back in because it's not ready yet.
Yeah.
But like, no, this is the ultimate weapon, and it's working
kicks
as
ass.
intended. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even at the end, they go into like super pressurized area, and it's like fine. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like not
No,
even.
yeah, they
breaking.
go
Yeah.
into a place where Jupiter, like
Oh,
the planet
yeah, we
Jupiter,
have to talk about
Oh,
the
yeah.
harnessing of the planet Jupiter to
they have
make a bomb.
compressed it.
God.
They've compressed
It's
Jupiter
awesome.
to like
The most
300,000
metal thing I've ever
times
seen.
less than it's supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
Like, so if you put any more pressure on it, it becomes a black hole, and that's how they plan to defeat the aliens,
The
is suck
black
them all
hole
into this
bomb.
black hole. Yeah, it's a black hole bomb, and so it
Plus
doesn't
the shadows of
activate
Batman,
properly.
Yeah, that's another good switch up of expectations. Like, oh, there's the Gunbuster 1, the Gunbuster 2, and the Gunbuster 3 is just a massive bomb.
Yeah.
It's just like a huge bomb.
You're
and
like,
it's
oh, they're going to get another robot. It's like, actually, no. The Gunbuster 3 is what we're going to use to kill everyone and everything.
Yeah, it's like, here's Optimus Prime 2. He's a big gun, actually.
That's
It's not-
Megatron.
Oh, yeah.
Oh shit! Lore.
You can't transform into anything. He's just
a gun.
always a gun. Yeah.
This was so good. I'm afraid, like, I kind of want to watch Gunbuster, but I also don't want to watch Gunbuster.
I want to watch Gunbuster and not talk to anyone about it because this show, like, I don't want to know anything about Gunbuster going in.
What is Gunbuster?
Okay.
To ruin exactly what you want. I would like to know about what it is.
I was so surprised going into Gunbuster the first time because all I knew was the design of the titular Gunbuster, that Anno had directed it, and that it was only 6 episodes, and I'm like, I can stand to watch this, and I was so blown away by everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's not so much like there were giant twists, but I just didn't know what to expect, and because of that, I feel like I enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
So to ruin all that, what is Gunbuster?
Well, no, I definitely want to explain any of the story stuff, but
Is it good?
it is. It's different and it's interesting.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's as good, but
That's a hard.
it certainly wasn't as memorable.
Does it take place after Gunbuster?
It is billed, at least in Japan, as Gunbuster 2. So take that and do what you want with it.
I just, like, I'm wondering whether it happens, like, between those 12,000 years or after the 12,000 years.
I will tell you, it does not happen 12,000 years after.
Oh,
at least in my memory.
I wanted to see all the weird alien people.
There's, like, I've seen the promo art, there's weird alien people.
Oh shit! I didn't know.
There's some cool stuff. It's interesting. The
Is
OP
it
is
long?
really good. No, it's also 6 episodes.
Oh, sick. Maybe we should come back to it at some point.
Like,
Yeah, maybe.
Is it just every time every time this loop gets around to Alex, he's just gonna be like, all right, time to watch another
Next week is Gunbuster again, actually.
It's gonna be fully cooly next time, everybody.
So, next week, actually, should we wrap this up?
Oh yeah, let's get
Yeah.
get
we
into
should.
our end of the episode. We're gonna tease a little bit for next week. We're gonna. I don't know if we actually want to have plugs. You started doing one and then hit the stop recording button before.
No, I did one, and then you were like, "How about everyone else?" or something like that, or "Goodbye, everyone," and I hit the stop
recording
button.
button.
Yeah. So next week, it's my turn. We're watching a show called Mononoke, not Princess Mononoke. It's
Do you want to know what the first thing Cam said to me when I told him what we were watching next week is?
You mean Princess Mononoke?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's because it's called Mononoke.
No.
That threw me for a loop because Princess Mononoke has a very similar title.
I don't.
So
see the
I'm
resemblance.
sorry, I was so
Cam,
confused.
I don't know how you could confuse them. One is a princess, and the other
Is
is
an anime show?
Yes.
Yeah.
We promise
So-
this is not going to turn into the
Yeah, we
anime
probably
cast.
shouldn't do 2 anime episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Well,
I
no,
think
I
after-
think we can do 2 of them in a row now because they're not similar in the way that they are. Like Gunbuster's like the OVA, and this is like a full. We're not gonna watch the whole series, but this is
Yeah.
like
I mean,
a
you
very
don't have to, but you can if you
It's a
want.
very different kind of show from what you've told me anyway.
Yeah. So it is. Actually a spin-off from another show called Ayakashi Ghost Stories, which are all about Japanese folk tales, and a different director would take each one and do a little arc of it.
Oh man,
So-
going from the center of the universe with crazy space robots to a dirt shack with ghosts in it. I can't wait.
Yep. So the last 3 or 4 episodes was about this guy called the Kusoriori, which is medicine vendor or medicine seller. And people apparently like that so much they spun it off into its own show. You don't really have to watch those 3 episodes of Ayakashi if you don't want to.
Yeah, I definitely am not going
They're
to.
good.
Yeah,
No, they're good though.
maybe eventually.
Yeah. But yeah, it's basically like a horror detective kind of thing that's super Japanese, like super folktale, like traditional Japanese culture-y kind of stuff. And the art is beautiful. And I'm gonna assign to watch 2 if you really don't like it, 5 if you want to really talk about it.
What if
we
you
all
watch
did 6
4?
for Gunbuster.
Okay,
So, I mean,
so
true.
watch 5 episodes of Mononoke. It's in arcs. Like there's the first 2 are like the first like case, and the next 3 are another case. So watch the first 5.
All right. I do really love arc-based stories like that. That aren't necessarily not like shonen arcs, which are super long.
One of my
but like-
favorite
but
arc-based stories is Noah's Ark.
Oh, that's
Kind of
good.
the original Noah's the arc-based story.
that's the
Go
one.
on.
You know, we have to stop and appreciate that fantastic joke.
You want to say it again?
That's the only arc I can think of that's longer than Namek. Am I
Oh
right,
my
guys?
God.
Am I right?
So true.
All right, so
But yeah,
do we
that makes
actually
sense.
want to do plugs, or are we just gonna cut this off?
We should
the only one that
give
wants
a
that actually
reminder
does
of
anything.
who we are, I think.
Yeah. All right. So this is.
Well, Alex has his other podcast that he could talk to us about.
Yeah.
I'm actually on that this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we're recording this weekend.
No
Tell
one,
me I'm wrong.
no one could possibly check because nobody knows what it is to tell,
Yeah,
to tell
I'm on
us
it.
him that he's wrong.
We're talking about Noah's Ark.
Anyway, okay, you wanna plug, Nick?
I've got nothing. I don't do anything online except for this show. I would recommend that you follow us on SoundCloud at Please Don't Cast. So if you want to hear our future episodes, I'm always going to post them to there. I'm probably going to set up a YouTube channel page soon. I'll start plugging that at the end once I have that set up. Seb is going to draw some amazing art. I say that, of course, not having seen it, but having seen her other stuff.
But the quiet guy in the room who I am currently doing a commission for, I want to get his stuff first.
Oh, that makes sense. I do sort of get that. You are going to be paid money for that one, whereas this, I'm just sort of...
You'll be paid
just
podcast
I don't know,
fund.
do I really care
Like
about
those
money?
$6.
Do I really care? I could just not do it. Like, he's... I don't know, Tyler.
You can follow me on Twitter at CamandCheese77. I think that's also my Instagram, but that's all I got.
How about steamed cams?
Yeah, that's a new show I'm putting together. It stars a being made of only steam, which was me. I'm working on that. I'm working on transforming into a being made of steam.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm Seb. You already know that. You can find me on Twitch. I'm SebBebeb. Or on DeviantArt, SebBlaze, SEBLAZE. Or ArtStation, SebBlaze, SEBBLAZE. And that's where to find me.
All right.
Wow.
This has been Please Don't Listen to This. Your life depends on it. Next week's Mononoke, and we'll see you then.